Hello and
Hello.
Class L probe. Gotta get up to get it done.
Damn.
We are your probers tonight.
Indeed.
Davin, Dave, and Adam.
Indeed. Ahoy, hoy.
Now we will be gently probing your minds and the topics of Star Trek here tonight. We've got a few good ones. This is the show where we, get deep dives into some topics from our other show, Debate 9. So, how you guys feeling tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Alive, alert, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
I noticed.
Clear of eyes, straight back.
That's right.
I noticed I'm the only one who wore their probe robe.
That's true. That's true.
Little conspicuous on your parts.
Well, I confess I didn't get the dress memo, and my probe robe is off at Garrick's getting mended.
I see.
Taking
it in, taking it out.
That's always the question.
Isn't it? Well, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that here. All right. Well, should we get into it, fellas?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Launch one of these probes. Did you guys hear my sound effect earlier? Are my sound effects working?
Yeah, I did hear one. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I
was thinking we'd start with yours, Dave. How do you feel about that?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do that. So
I'm glad you typed it up because I won't remember exactly what
I did.
No.
But let me fire away here.
I like it.
The distinct quality of Star Trek storytelling rests on the fundamental distinction of science fiction from space opera. I sent that to Adam. He sent back, what? The hell are you guys talking about, basically?
No, but you did a great job explaining it. I'm ready to talk about it.
All right, good.
Oh, great.
I think I responded in 2 words. I'm like not Star Wars. Dave and I had to debate this one actually on Debate 9. This was proposed by Jeff Aiken.
This was a rough one.
I did not win that debate, but I did blow Jeff Aiken's mind in the losing. So that's something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Twilight Zone analogy there. But
yeah.
All right. So
yeah, I mean,
why did you pick this
one? I mean, it's one of those things that I think of frequently as pretty fundamental in terms of how we can distinguish our space stories, right? Like for me, Dune is very much a space opera. Star Wars, very much a space opera. The science is not particularly important. And there's an awful lot of hand waving. Looking at you, midichlorians. And then, that is more often than not subordinated to the service of exciting narrative storytelling, which is great in its own right. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But I think science fiction has a different quality, right? Science fiction tends to displace sort of narrative possibilities into a scientific, technological, and cultural framework where the theme or the idea can get explored in and through characters and action and all sorts of stuff. But it fundamentally relies on some conception of those sort of the actual intellectual work and the science work somehow being important to the telling of, or even the resolution of the story.
And that can even be entirely speculative. Like, it can be entirely speculative science, and it's still science fiction, you know?
Sure.
Like, but it's just like the attention to that detail kind of thing.
But can I just throw another loop into this? How about the technology of Star Trek versus Star Wars or any other one, I guess? But like thinking about original series, and you know, and then today we have this.
Sure.
Right. And I'm like, whoops! Even then, I just threw it on my charger.
One looks better, and one
you don't want it to be out of battery when Starfleet calls, do you?
No. But the point being is like I think there's a lot more thoughtfulness around the storylines and what they use and how they deliver it, and whether it. I mean, it just feels believable. It feels like here's a use that I could see coming down the pipeline. And even back down, like, again, original series, and you think the Enterprise was pretty utilitarian back then. It wasn't made to be a luxury liner by any means. And I think there was a little bit, for me, it was like, it still looked great back as a kid watching that show. But it wasn't over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very functional in many ways. Yeah. I mean, you could see it as a kind of great submarine in space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Devin, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, why don't we pose some examples of science fiction as you did with the space operas? I made the example of Twilight Zone in our debate 9. How about like a 2001: A Space Odyssey, perhaps?
Science fiction.
Yeah,
I think in some ways. Yeah, I mean the Asimov robot stories and some attempts in the movie adaptations, good science fiction, right? It's a question about ethics and consciousness in the context of something which can really demonstrate its own consciousness.
Well, it's AI.
Right. Yeah. But, so yeah. I mean, there's great examples, right?
But what we're narrowing down on in this exact question here, too, is as it was posed in the debate, is the reliance on Star Trek, the distinctness between that. So if it starts to lean too far space opera, is it no longer Star Trek? So I think. Well,
I suppose I suppose we need to find some limit cases where Star Trek would lean pretty space opera-ish.
The new JJ movies.
Yeah, there is, I think there's definitely elements of space opera in there, like there's sort of the rollicking, good space adventure time. I think there's that moment where they're like playing Beastie Boys and like destroying a bunch of stuff. It's a great scene, but in some ways it's not. It feels a bit more magic science-y.
Yeah, I think like. There's a distinct quality in science fiction too, at least in the ones and there's not as much of it I find now, although there's some, I'm sure. But I mean, I definitely have. But it stops and takes a breath every now and then. Like most science fiction stops in this, like, lets you think for a second before it moves on to the next idea sometimes, or like the characters will debate the idea. Which certainly Star Trek does. And I think that's important too. And like a Twilight Zone does that. It's too, like, they confront an idea. Like
so you'd ask the hard questions, you're saying.
There's usually something being asked or posed other than just, as is in all storytelling in science fiction, I find. Like, something's being tackled intellectually or speculatively or even socially, like, there's something bigger usually, I think, is one of the defining things.
Yeah, and I don't. By the same token, I think we can't say that something like space operas like Star Wars don't try and deal with big issues. I mean, there's a whole meditation on the descent of a functional political order into
trying to not
tyranny. that is very interesting there, right? But it primarily
it's not the focus
has to
necessarily.
Well, and it's done by political technologies we largely already possessed, more than being done with or on the basis of some technological conceit or scientific notion that would make it sort of happen, right?
So does Star Trek have to stay firmly in that science fiction camp?
We had a really interesting conversation last night on Discovery about how right away it lost its way coming out of the gate with the whole retelling of the Klingon Empire and what happened to them and the adaptation of how they looked and all that stuff. And I don't think the fans will let it happen because you get that kind of reaction that many people had on Discovery. Excuse me, coming out of that first season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could, Devin, sure, they can do it, but I don't think they would.
Well, and the reaction to having tried is your
full
point.
Space opera.
Well, pardon me?
You don't think Star Trek would go full space opera?
No. And even like you look at, to me again, sorry, Dave, but when you look at today, the sort of the controversial or episodes that have a lot of negative feedback, even with, and I hate to say it because it sounds like a movie. It's not the Strange New Worlds, the musical one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Subspace Rhapsody.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Not my favorite episode.
I was fine with it. I just thought the music sucked, so it took me out of it.
But you wouldn't want to watch that every week.
No.
That
I was fine with the once over. I just wish the music had been more appealing.
Yeah. But I mean, like I've been with you guys now for a couple of years, and I understand like what makes a good episode. I think to us is it's got some political intrigue. It's not all battles. It's not all blowing up. It's not outrageous sciencey science that makes you think that this thing never happened. There's a connection to our world in it a little bit, and that's what I think that I think I see from you guys, and what I certainly know I like myself. Even my next topic when we get to it is like, what the heck happened here? Why did this happen?
Yeah, right. Like those are the great questions you can get into, right? An episode like Home Soil is a great example of this, right? There is lots of action. Data's dodging a freaking mining laser at moments, right? And there's all kinds of crazy, interesting stuff happening. But the fundamental question we're really dealing with there is like, what's going on? Is it alive? What do we do with it now?
Yeah.
And they're really simple questions.
Do you have a leak in your bag of mostly water?
Of mostly water.
Right? You have a leak in that
so
bag.
good.
Yeah.
I need bags of mostly water.
Great episode, though. I mean, but yeah.
Was that what they would say if they like saw a human bleeding? Your bag of mostly water is leaking.
Danger, you're leaking.
Danger.
That's right. You are
Bag
at
leak.
fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so do you guys think Star Trek relies, or not relies, but rests, I guess is the question here, on the fundamental distinction of science fiction from space opera?
I think that's what makes it, for me, appealing. So I'm going to say yes. And when I think about other shows that I really have enjoyed over the years, like Battlestar Galactica, another one, the remake, again, man, it was a raw story about people.
See, that one is, what is that one? Is that science fiction or is that a space opera?
Well, that's tricky. I mean, to me, that's like science fiction epic almost, partly just because for me, like Battlestar Galactica is very much a retelling of, or a telling of the Aeneid,
Oh yeah.
of Virgil, like these sort of survivors of a destroyed place, and they're trying to find a new home. Right. The angle of the Cylons is what really sort of distinguishes it from the Aeneid, but it's that kind of a story. It's a real epic tale. But you're absolutely right. Like the only reason Galactica is there is because it has wires and not the kind of technology all the other battle stars are built with, right?
It's definitely a science fiction concept, though, now that I think of it, with the Cylons.
Completely science fiction.
Yeah.
I know, like Firefly is another great sci-fi show that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Because everything rests on a hard premise that it gets awful cold out there,
But okay,
it's brilliant.
So how about Babylon 5?
Oh gosh,
because I would say opera-ish.
I would too. It's like a soap opera in space.
I would say it's a soap opera with strong sci-fi elements, or a space opera with strong sci-fi elements, because they do some sci-fi stuff with that, right? I could, it has some of that quality to it, right? I think it's probably one of the Star Treks that comes closest to getting to that kind of more, what we say, operatic sense, because it does feel like such a work when it's finished, right? Like there's something happening there.
But it also has some of the hardest sci-fi too.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think it does. I think there are certain episodes of certain shows and movies that definitely get a little too space opera for me, and they're like the worst ones as far as I'm concerned in Star Trek. Star Trek at its best, at the very least, I think, is when it's distinctly science fiction, like the one you mentioned, like Home Soil, or like the one we're going to talk about later that Adam picked.
And exactly. I mean, for me, I think it has to rest on that science fiction side, even though it can dip occasionally.
It can
right?
dip,
and the dipping may be fruitful, but it can't stray too far.
The dipping for me is like a reminder that you got to come back, please, because I don't really love the opera part of, when I watch her, thinking more about the other day, what's that show? May the Fourth be with you. And, that meme with Captain Kirk, never heard of it. But so it and it's true. I mean, as I'm getting older and I'm watching other things, I don't really enjoy the Star Wars world anymore. It's okay.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah. Mind you, I do have to say Andor is just a great show. Like that.
Yeah, but that comes back. It brings it back. Same with
it absolutely does.
Rogue One was very good. It was very different.
Yeah. It's looking at it without lightsabers in it, and it's a really interesting setting in some respects that way, right?
That world is more interesting without the lightsabers, I think.
And I like Ewoks. And Ewoks.
And Ewoks. A lot of things, maybe.
It's true.
It's a mixed bag. But, I think Star Trek's at its best when it's doing the hard sci-fi. But when it does dip, sometimes, there are certain episodes that don't necessarily have a sci-fi premise, but they're usually strong character episodes. Or like even we're going to talk about Chain of Command next. Like, there's not a lot of sci-fi happening in Chain of Command. That's just a serious character drama.
Yeah, the torture mechanism is sort of the most sci-fi element of it,
True.
But yeah,
and like they do, like there's spaceships and stuff. But that, all space.
That's science fiction, Dave. I mean, Davin. That's science fiction. Spaceships. I mean, but again, it's okay to have the mix. It's when the stories, I think, just go a little farther out, and you're wondering, could that really happen? And,
like midichlorians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And these things begin to, and there again, I think the part of the argument there is that the setting and the science are serving the narrative in fundamental ways, where I think on the science fiction side of that distinction, the environment and like a real commitment to some kind of, even if there's some hand waving in it, right? Like a Bassard collector or a Heisenberg regulator. The understanding is there that you need to have some kind of handwave about this because we know about the uncertainty principle. And those are kind of rules that we can all follow inside it, right? Yeah. So that we can intuit the reality of a character's situation almost as well as they can, right? We don't need to look around the cantina and see all the crazy aliens in this to get a sense of what the thing is like. We know that if you're traveling at, warp, then you're doing this thing, or the computer will answer voice requests unless
or the ship breaks something from time to time.
Right. Precisely.
Yeah, but if once you've developed your like sci-fi world to the point where you have to start inventing things like Heisenberg compensators, then you've already done the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Star Trek does it best, and I think it does. I think we all agree. Star Trek, at least
I think we do.
You could say, is at its best when it's science fiction.
Yes. Resolved.
All right. Resolved.
We should destroy the probe.
But if we don't destroy the probe, we can launch it again at another date, Worf.
He's not about
firing
that.
Phasers.
Worf.
Yeah.
He's about that phaser life.
Yeah, he is about that phaser life. All right, let's go mine next. Jellico was more correct about Riker than Riker was about Jellico. I picked this one because I kind of want to watch the episodes in it anyway, and I did. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as the avid Star Trek The Next Generation fan might want to believe, due to their love of Riker and perhaps distaste for Jellico. But I just watched that one again, and I don't know. I've got some things to say. How do you guys feel about this question?
I'm curious in what sense.
Well,
you're going to argue this here.
Well, what do they say about each other? Riker says about Jellico that Jellico has to control everything, doesn't let there be any joy in anything, is arrogant and closed-minded. Those are the big takeaways. And not a particularly good captain. What he says about Riker is that he's arrogant, not a particularly good first officer, disobedient, insubordinate. Yeah, I think those are most of the things. And look, they both might be a little bit right and they both might be a little bit wrong, but we can get into that in a little more detail. So I was watching the episode through again, and it's mostly in the first episode of the two-parter, because in the second part, I mean, it's where they have their conversation in the second part, but most of their conflict is in the first one. And the crew just really comes off as kind of petulant, to be honest. He's here trying to do his job. They know there's a super short timeline. They don't know a lot about the mission, but they know there's a timeline, that they're bringing this guy in to do this mission that has a time crunch. And they're just like, they're like getting in his way all the time and just being petulant with him. I was getting annoyed at the crew for the first half of the episode. Not Jellico. And Riker's actually trying the hardest. Like, Deanna's being a little bit stupid. I mean, he takes to Data right away, because Data's the only one who's like super on board with whatever he says, basically. But so he just like starts taking Data around with him like a little.
He's like his new number one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he puts him in the red after a while. But and Geordi's not being particularly cooperative with him, and a lot of it's because they don't like his demanding style, and he's not. But for the most part, it's because he's not Jean-Luc. And that's not his fault. That's not his fault.
But you notice that
at all.
Next Gen brings, like, when they bring in new captains or captains that are other captains out there, they're always like sort of dumb or very brash, like Pressman, for instance, or have done other things like that. Jean-Luc, they're just never like Jean-Luc. And if they are like Jean-Luc, they're hello, old friend. You know,
it's, yeah.
You know, but
yeah.
But if I can answer this now, I'd like to say I am completely on board with you. I think that they are petulant, and we're talking wartime. Something bad is happening here.
Yeah.
Like the clue should be, hey, we just lost our chief medical officer, our security officer, and our captain. They're gone. So, and then so they get a new captain on who has, yes, certainly a different style, but he's the captain. And regardless of what Riker would have thought, to me, is like you just fall in line.
In Riker, like, I think you're right there. And the only person I ever felt like he was being quite business with everybody, which maybe they weren't quite used to, but that's fine. You can be all business.
What season was this again? Season 4 or 5?
6.
6. Oh my gosh. Okay, so they've had 5 years together at this point. Yeah, this is. Mm-hmm. And you remember what even Jean-Luc was like in the first season? He was pretty standoff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He was more rude than Jellico. The only person Jellico is openly rude to in this episode, well, other than Riker in that conversation they eventually have where they tell each other off, is Jean-Luc. He's trying his heart. He's trying at least with the crew to at least humor them a little bit. You know, he just wants it to get it done his way. But Jean-Luc he's just like, it's not your ship anymore, Jean-Luc. Here's your book, Jean-Luc. Don't let it hit you on your ass on the way out the door. You know what I mean? He gets like very kind of rude with Jean-Luc. Mm-hmm. But
and I think
the rest of the crew.
For me, that's the only real fly in the ointment of this argument is that fundamentally, I think I agree that the crew is being petulant in many respects. They're digging their heels, they're causing friction, they're not moving at their best. But in some ways, I think that Jellico, in some ways, he comes aboard, he kind of walks aboard like he owns the place. And
so to be fair, he now does.
But I think fundamentally he challenges their honor as a crew in some sense, right? Like he's like, you guys are bullshit.
I would say he
just comes aboard and tells them they're bullshit, right?
For sure.
And there are, it's first of all, it's not a style of leadership
rotation.
But it's also, I think the thing that Jellico could have done to make it better, which is not in his character to do, so he didn't do it, is to have some kind of debrief, even with the senior staff on.
Yeah, that would have been smart.
Things. Right? Like
he would never. You're right. He would never.
This is going to be crazy. I know we're going to have to like pull together in the craziest way to make this work. I know this is not an ideal situation. I know I'm just like the guy who walked into the room, but we have to make this work, right? And that's just not who Jellico is. No. And I think Jellico's a guy who rubs people the wrong way, for sure. But
he's a captain, though. Like he's being a captain.
Right. Fundamentally, they're the ones who are responsible to, like there's a hell of a lot more of them than there are him, right? And you can see it kind of rippling through the crew at exactly the worst moment, you know? Yeah, so in some ways, I think I agree as well with this question. I think there are pieces of what Riker says about Jellico as well.
Let's keep
and
score.
You said this right off the top that are right, that are.
So we have Jellico better, and we have Riker. So what did Riker say about Jellico? Arrogant. I think we can give him that one. Give him that point. Close-minded.
I don't know about that. I think he's got his way, but he can. He's the captain, and maybe he could have been a little more. I wouldn't say coddling, but certainly more. More involved, more explanations and things like that, because he is walking aboard a ship that has a tight crew. However, you also have no time. Remember, this is all a big rush right now.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Which they seem to keep forgetting. That's what was annoying me in the episode. I'm like, you guys keep forgetting. Like, Deanna goes in there and literally says to them, look, the crew, they're just having a little trouble adapting to the fact that you're not Jean-Luc.
Oh, this is the best episode.
They need, and maybe you need, some time. And he's just like, that's
and then
great,
on the way out,
you've given this a lot of thought. You go do that. I don't have time. Like, what?
And on the way out, change your uniform, change into a uniform.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which is the best thing he ever did.
Best thing we ever got out of that episode.
Uniform. Well,
That's
it's
true.
a great episode.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, see, I think he's kind of closed off, kind of closed-minded to his crew, but I don't think he is situationally as a captain. Like his tactics with the Cardassians are very creative, and not just creative, but like showed that he's good at attention to detail. Like he knew everything about Riker when he walked on the ship. He's like 8th in your class, and like so he's not closed off to information.
No, but you're right.
He's
though.
closed off to his like people.
You think about how he handled the negotiations with the Cardassians too, because it was very unlike Jean-Luc would ever done. But it was
he never
effective.
would have done that. Yeah,
It was effective. And then
it was the right.
Yeah,
Nechayev was right. Like he was the right captain for that job, for that one mission. Like I think, but so I don't know. Where would you guys vote on closed-minded? It's tough. He's like somewhere
That's tough.
in the middle.
I wouldn't say so much
point.
closed-mindedness. I would say he's so he's extremely determined.
Yeah.
You know, and once and you could probably call him like bullheaded or pig-headed or something. Like once he gets the idea of what he's going to do, you better just be saying, "How high are we jumping, sir?" Because that's all he really needs to hear from you, right? And that's not necessarily a fault in someone who's a captain. He's got to be decisive, right?
All right,
but,
we're not giving you that point, Riker. We're not giving you that point.
Yeah, I don't think that's so much.
But the next one. Go ahead.
If I could just say something too, is like, isn't 4 shifts better than 3? Like, you get more time off, and
I was thinking about that too.
We never hear about Picard going back to 3 shifts.
They run on a 24-hour clock?
Yes.
One would have to, yeah.
Yeah, they do 26 on the station because it's near.
Oh, that's true, because they're on Bajoran time. That's right.
Yeah, but so 24.
24-hour clock.
So 6-hour shift instead of 8-hour shift. But how does that work? Because then you have to divide up your personnel to get that extra shift. So now your personnel divisions are smaller.
Listen, that would have been, if anything, and I liked how
that would have been the craziest piece.
That would have been very difficult to change in 1 shift.
And that's what Riker was saying. He's just like, look, the department heads are like, that'll cause us huge personnel problems, which he didn't add, but you probably don't want during your special mission that's super crucial. Maybe you want everyone just working efficiently at how they that was a bad change. I feel like I don't know why he.
Well, it's funny because there are these techniques of leadership, right? Like, some people will think about leadership as like you got to come in and you got to put your imprint on something right away, right? So you got to kind of move the furniture around or fire some people or whatever it is, right? It's kind of like the same idea as if you're going to prison, walk up and punch the biggest guy you can find, right? Like there's some kind of weird logic in there. But
doesn't it suck to be the biggest guy in prison? You're getting punched in the face.
I was like, oh, not again. New guy.
God.
His name is Bubba. He's actually very nice.
He's very nice.
But the style of leadership that certainly in my line of work I was certainly more admonished to take on was one where when you show up, you're like, let me learn your culture here. I'm supposed to be your sort of overall manager or overall whatever, but I don't know how you guys do things. Show me how you guys do things for a little while anyway, and then maybe we'll start to make some changes or not, And there's...
it's just the time.
There are 2 different styles, I think, and I don't think either Picard or Jellico was very much of that second style, but Picard may have been more of it than
at least
certainly Jellico was not.
Now, do you think Jellico would come in a little more... receptive if he wasn't on this time crunch.
Well, now, that's a $10,000 question. Yeah.
So I don't think we give Riker that 1 point, but this next one, he doesn't let there be any joy, anything. I think we can give Riker that point, because that's exactly why everyone hates Jellico, is because he doesn't let there be any joy.
And you know what I like is that the choice for Jellico, Ronnie Cox, he played that same character in RoboCop. You know, like, Dick Jones,
Stargate. Like he was the senator in Stargate. He always played.
He was a master of that guy.
Yeah.
He's the best. That guy.
Oh man!
Late to
he did
report. What's the topic?
Oh,
we got Jellico was more correct about Riker than Riker was about Jellico. There, Jim the casual.
Well,
we like to keep it casual.
Glad you came,
Jim. Yeah,
indeed.
So yeah, well, that's 2 points for Riker, and the last one, not a particularly good captain. I don't know. I think he's actually not a bad captain.
I think he's different.
I think he's different.
Yeah, I think we don't see much of Jellico. He's so different than Picard that like the contrast is just crazy.
This is my point: is that we didn't have a lot of exposure to other captains in Next Gen, and when now looking like when you go back and rewatch, and we are about to start that, they don't portray them as actually anywhere near in the class as Jean-Luc. He's like the cream of the crop. Get it, but I don't. Even when you look at oh my goodness, Captain Garrett was very good, but she was very much like Jean-Luc.
Very much like Jean-Luc.
I can't remember the captain Kelsey Grammer played. He was,
Bateman.
Bateman.
Yeah,
Morgan Bateson.
Yeah, and he played very much Jellico role to me. Like in that short time frame we saw him, it was all business.
And that you figured that out in like the 2 words Kelsey
No,
Grammer
but
said.
He was just all business. And you're right.
But there are, I mean, there are.
But they do kind of fall into some certain kind of types. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of hot-headed captains, or insufficiently cautious captains, or bellicose captains, or none of them are quite
friendly
so
guys. Like before he goes crazy, the Minster Boy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Captain,
yes.
He's Maxwell. The one that wants to, Maxwell. He wants to hang out and sing with you. Like that's like the opposite.
Yeah.
In what context he doesn't understand the question, Jim the Casual? Well, Jim the Casual, we're referring to the Chain of Command episode where they had that conversation, and just rewind.
They both accuse each other of having various qualities. So we got to tally up Riker now.
Yeah, we do. But the reason I think Jellico is a good captain is he really skillfully works his way through this episode. What he is open to is a good idea. And if someone brings him a good idea, he commits all the resources he can to that idea. And I think that's what makes him a captain.
He also knows when he needs a good pilot and everything comes to Riker, he goes and eats crow.
Tail between his legs, had to. Exactly.
Yep. And the other thing
you wouldn't think a guy like him would do.
Yeah, the guy
true.
I didn't like about Riker in this particular is when he went to Captain Picard's quarters and they're all finished for the day and they're dying because they're so tired. And the fact that he would even done that, I just, to me, it's
Geordi asked him to, but yeah,
but it's immature. It doesn't speak to a first officer. He's supposed to be that role. He's supposed to be what our Captain Jellico is, the hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yet he's taken on that wounded sort of aspect, just like the rest of the crew is. You know
what's funny about that scene though that I actually sort of just picked up on this rewatch, and I've seen that episode a million times.
What's that?
Jellico's talking to Geordi about the pilot mission, and he's just like, "Well, could you do it, Geordi?" And he's just like, "I could do it, but who you really need is Riker because he's the best there is." And he's like, okay, so Geordi's the first person he asked to fly. So you assume the very next person he asked is Commander Riker, because that's what he just was talking to Geordi about. But he walks into Commander Riker, and he's just like, have you heard of this mission? And Riker goes, yeah, I heard you've talked to every shuttle pilot on the ship. So before he went to talk to Riker, he actually went and talked to everybody else anyway. But they so subtly do that. I never picked up on that. That's hilarious.
But he still came back.
He still came back, but after everyone else said no.
It's like, well, I guess there's no other choice now. We're gonna have to make this work.
It's so funny. So, are we giving him the point on the not a good captain? I don't know.
No,
I think he wouldn't have made captain if he was terrible at the job.
And he really does know the Cardassians. Like he's just like they're like wolves. He's like they're timid by themselves, like bold in numbers. It's just and they like to get the upper hand in every situation. So that's why he's always like jumping at him like this and stuff. He's always trying to just like scare the shit out of the Cardassian. It's so hilarious. But anyway,
it's funny because it's like a weird. He's like this Nixonian figure, right in the middle of the series, right? He's doing that kind of like crazy man politics, like Nixon did in the 70s, in his relations with Asia particularly, and with Russia, I suppose most obscenely, or not exaggeratedly, but yeah, like Jellico really he rattles them with that behavior. Absolutely.
I'm just reading his career history here, and he served as the dean of students at Starfleet Academy. That would have been awesome, that role. That's the best role for him.
Who gave him that job?
He threw the best ice cream socials.
Jellico took the position of the Starfleet Academy as the dean of students. Also at that time, yeah.
Because you know what you don't want anyone to be at your school? Happy.
No joy at this academy.
He was promoted to captain for his efficient, demanding style of command.
Yep.
And then he removed all the ping pong tables on campus.
So that's 2 points for Riker's argument. So I did remember the other thing that Jellico said about Riker. So the first thing Jellico says about Riker, arrogant about Commander Riker.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you say, Adam?
Got some of that.
Yeah, he's got some of that.
I think they were a bunch of Jellico.
No, I don't think so either. But I think we can give him that point. The next one, willful.
His name is Will.
That's one thing he calls him, though. He's like, you're willful. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. But I guess in the context,
I think it's not an unfair description of Will Riker, though. He's headstrong,
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So it's just like the connotation Jellico adds to things, really. The next one, insubordinate.
Definitely.
He's being insubordinate to Jellico a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't do the Delta shift thing and didn't tell him about it. He's just like, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. But I mean, in this context, he's being insubordinate for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. He may not be habitually so, but he's definitely in this case.
Yeah. He's definitely got a streak.
He questions him. He doesn't follow direction. He's actually rallies the other crew, other senior officers.
Mm-hmm.
Completely insubordinate.
Yeah. And the last one, not a particularly good first officer. I don't agree with that.
I think he's wrong about that. He may not be being a great first officer in this instance, and he's probably making a bad impression on Jellico.
Do you think that the captain makes the first officer?
Like you can't be a good first officer without a good captain?
Yeah, I think you have to have a very good partnership.
Well, I mean, that Captain XO relationship has got to be, very, very, deeply functional. They don't have to be friends necessarily, I wouldn't think.
No, they don't have to be friends, but they need to know what others, what I do and what you do. There's roles.
And they got to trust each other somehow,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And I don't think these two ever really trust each other.
No, it was never that.
Well, so here's our final scores. Jellico was more right about Riker than Riker was about Jellico.
Well, we've demonstrated it with the science.
With the science, that's what we do here. We got the
no opera,
data.
just science.
exactly.
I mean, if somebody wants O Sole Mia, I mean, Adam can bust it out in a second, I know, but
Sure.
Like Riker was really being a little bit uncharacteristically dickish. They all were. They were being petulant little turds. And it's
the
like,
only time you ever saw that side of Riker, I think, in another episode was Best of Both Worlds when Commander Shelby tried to, if you do an end run around me again, I'm going to snap you.
yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Good call. That's exactly.
He's
how
very
he
threatened in that episode, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think there's a comment to be made there. I mean, a lot of those moments are what you could call like their systems problems, right? Like the crew is a dynamic system, right? If you took it out of sort of family systems theory or systems theory in psychology, the system has been deeply disturbed by the departure of these three executive crew members, and they're defensive, they're frightened, they're disoriented. This guy comes in, they're reactive. He is forceful, and they just continue. And it's like this sort of series of collisions that are taking place, right? And ultimately, it frankly, because of his role, it should have been Riker to smooth that. It should have been Riker to say to the crew, "We have to pull together around this. Mm-hmm. Like we have to do this." Because I mean, Jellico's the new guy around. He can tell you to do it, but Riker can move you to do it.
It's almost sensing the petulance that they were meeting him with at the very beginning. He's just like, all right, I'm going to shut down even more and just get even more all business. Look, if you're not going to listen, do it.
But you know what? Like, this is really interesting about Riker's leadership style and comfortabableness with Picard. There's a question right there.
Doesn't work for anyone else like ever.
But remember, like, I just reminded myself about Best of Both Worlds was when he was offered another command and he said no again. Like, I mean, like the Admiralty must be thinking, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
And he's lucky he did get the chair pulled out for him another time, because they're like, look, if you keep denying it, we're not going to keep asking. But eventually he does get the Titan. So
yeah,
only because they destroyed the Enterprise.
Well, but then he got what he wanted because there was so many ships destroyed at Wolf 359. There was no ships to give him.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
True. That's true.
All right. Well, we did the science on that one. So let's move on to yours, Adam. Let's launch another probe. Data was justified in not releasing the transporter lock when ordered to by Commander Riker in The Quality of Life. So we're talking about the exocomps here. Funny enough, this is the episode directly before Chain of Command. So I just went to season 6 and I watched 3 episodes in a row. And it was great.
This was one of my favorite episodes, actually.
It's better than I remembered. I love this episode, but I was expecting to be like a little like, yeah, I've seen this one before while watching it, but no, I got sucked in right again. I'm like, oh, this one is really good.
It is really good. I mean, coming back to our first question, Dave, you brought it up about, the questions, and you're talking again about life and how it forms. But the thing I really enjoyed about this episode was Data's unwavering commitment to do what he thinks is right.
Which is supposed to be the highest virtue of a Starfleet officer. So he's not acting un-Starfleet. But see, here's the thing about this one, Adam. I thought this one was great, a great one to pick, and then I went and watched the episode. But I'm like, they sort of address every point as you go along. So by the end of the episode, this question sort of answered for us. So you might have to frame the debate here if there's any sort of a debate to happen.
Well, I don't think there. I you know what I mean. Knowing you guys, I think you're all going to agree with it. But I still like to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it. But I think we all agree that Data was justified in not releasing the transporter lock. But where it comes down to is what.
Yeah, let's go over the moment itself for a second here.
So Data has his suspicions just based on the way the exocomps are acting, and of course the scientists who built the exocomps is just like, no, like that's not possible. She's just like, Data's like, but you're talking to a machine right now. But she's like, no, but Dr. Soong tried to build a Data. I built tools. So they're like, well, let's do a test. And then they do the test, and the exocomps, they think, pass the test to prove that they're, no, I guess fail the test to show that they are not alive. But what they find out later is that they just thought above the test and fixed it. They fixed the ruse. So then Data, knowing that, goes to Commander Riker and it's just like, no, I still think they're alive, but Data doesn't have proof. At least not, but just like not concrete enough proof for Commander Riker. It's just that the exocomp came out of the tunnel with a new tool because Data forgot to shut it off and restart the test. So it just came out still in the form of what it would look like when it completed its work rather than having a restarted tool. So, but like that's not going to, you're not going to be able to like explain all that to Commander Riker and have him think that's enough evidence to not send the exocomps to save the lives of Geordi and Picard, who are down on this planet, and they have like 12 hours. So, but Data's like, but if they're alive, we're just trading lives for other lives. And then Riker's just like, well, look, I'm doing it anyway. And Data's just like, well, why don't I just go do it? And Riker's like, well, it'll kill you. And he's like, yes, but that's my choice. And what they did to the exocomps to counteract this problem, like they're like, the exocomps aren't going to help you. They're alive. They're like, yeah, but we can turn that off. We can turn off their choice making ability, basically. And that's when Data kind of loses it. He's just like, okay, well, I'm going to just lock out the transporters, and now you can't transport the exocomps down to the planet. So how do you feel about that? Because then
classic Data dialogue. How do you feel about that?
How do you feel about that? And then he talks to Riker and just like, well, I have a choice, so let me do it. And then, because then they don't have that choice anymore because we took that away from them. Well, Riker's like, well, what if we give them that back and they still do it? He's like, well, let's see. That sounds like a good, reasonable extra position to me. And they go and do that. So that's how it all works out in the end. But the question is, before that, when he was ordered to transport the exocomps down to the planet by Commander Riker, and he didn't, was he justified in doing so? So that's the whole thing, and I think we all agree he was, because like he had enough evidence. He's Data, like.
But I mean, there's the analogy.
The
I mean, that's where I see the analogy between the exocomp situation and Data's situation in the episode, right? Like, what Data can do is find a solution through the available data that exceeds the capacities of the people who observe him. And the exocomps do the same thing in their test, right? Like, so to me, one of the fundamental questions this episode ends up asking is like, how, if an intelligence is organized differently than our own, how do we recognize that it's there? You know, it's like there are these great endless studies, like in monkey behavior.
Self-preservation is how they do it in this.
Sure, right? But I guess the example I was going to use is there are these, you know, these endless studies of like monkey behavior in wild primates, right? Where they talk about different group behaviors in the monkeys and how they spend time with each other and who they spend time with and all this stuff. Well, they're talking about with these monkeys have friends. And sometimes monkeys hang out with their monkeys because they're their friends. And sometimes monkeys have fights and they make new friends and they hang out with other friends. But all of this is described in the literature in entirely alienated terms because the fundamental assumption is that those monkeys don't actually have consciousness. Right? That's the fundamental assumption in the literature itself that has yet to be surmounted by any total demonstration beyond the inference of our anthropomorphic writing onto them that they're being friends. Anything that we can,
when it's monkeys,
exactly right. It's pattern bonding, exactly. So we don't call it that in us. We call it that in them. And I feel like the same analogy exists here, right? Like we can't, when the life or the consciousness is so differently organized, how do we actually grok that it's life? Yeah.
And
how can it show us?
And in that regard, what Data says to Riker too, which is really good, he's just like, humans, I've seen you all do it, act on what's called intuition or gut feelings or instinct, and you guys do that stuff all the time. I don't have those. But he's like, but wait, maybe what I have instead is some insight into what life would be like in technological form. He's like, maybe I have that sort of instinct to see life in something that you guys wouldn't look to see it in, So, and I think that's a great point.
Sure. The only thing there, with that argument, but how, like, is Data's treatment of the Borg then correct? Then is he flying against what he usually would say, or in this case, because they are a new life? But I guess it's because they're just, let me work this in my mind, because they're threatening and changing and will kill everybody around them. I guess that's the difference. But yeah, I mean, but
if you took a human and forcefully turned it into an exocomp, I mean,
different.
Data might feel different about the exocomp.
But when you take this episode to the Measure of the Man episode, right? And again, and this is the problem with the human component to it, is the emotional. I love Picard. I love whoever else on the planet with them. Right? They're my friends. They're my compatriots. But in the moment of when Riker's pushed here, like he's not going to bend. Like he wants him to go and kill these things, because there's no emotional connection to the exocomps, in my opinion. And again, we Measure the Man, the people that he's on trial with Maddox, there's no emotional connection. He thinks he's a machine.
But another thing too, what if an exocomp looked like a Data? Like it looks like a tool, but what if it had legs and arms and eyes?
Right, and this is the question of like how we have empathy for things in that sense, right? How can we feel our way into their life, or like get any sense of what that selfhood might be like if they have one?
But legit shed tears when the third exocomp sacrifices itself to save the other two. Legit tears.
Oh man,
that's
a beautiful
legit,
moment.
Man.
Like that's when they really show that their lives, right? What is that great statement, right? No one has greater love than to lay down their life for their friends, right?
So we are all in agreement. So Jim the Casual is going to play a counterpoint here.
So yeah, this
Data
is an
was
interesting
justified
spoiler
later.
point. This is a good question.
But in the moment, should have followed orders.
But you brought up
there's the question.
There's the question: do you blindly follow orders? And according to Picard, you don't.
True. So by the words of his own captain, you don't.
Well, and I think I suppose the question is, how do we evaluate those principles in relationship to each other too, right?
Oh, we get it.
Yeah, it's a great devil's advocate question.
We appreciate it.
How do you evaluate, say, the principle of authority in Starfleet relative to the principle of preservation of life?
Right.
It's very much it very much ends up being a kind of a prime directive problem. And I think Data's right in recognizing that.
You come back to the last question again. This is really Riker's immaturity. Because if Picard was on board and Riker was on the planet, Picard would go, "Yeah, you're right, Data. We're gonna sacrifice Riker. You're absolutely right. I really believe that.
Yeah.
There's a reason Picard was on the planet, not Riker.
Yes. Yeah.
Good point. I would bet anything
recasting
when they were
Riker
writing
and Geordi for next week.
Because Picard's not even supposed to be on the planet, according to
good point. And it's like,
oh
what
man,
if,
it's some good poking, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that order's. I mean, it wasn't Picard that gave him the order; it was Riker. But Riker's Picard's number one, and they're pretty in sync. So the order coming from Riker is almost like it came from Picard. So it's that same sentiment. It's just like on this ship we don't blindly follow orders. But on Jellico ships, you do. So,
no.
what happens if the Cairo shows up and has data on board, and this whole thing happens? You know, the whole thing happens a lot differently, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, what if Data was, always on the Cairo, and that's the kind of environment he became a Starfleet officer in, so he maybe doesn't even believe in not blindly following orders.
Well, maybe he would have had a salutary effect on Jellico. He's pretty persistent.
He is. You're right. Yeah.
Well, it's just been demoted down to like.
But even Data can turn it on when he needs to. Like to be, when you think about when he was the acting captain in that episode where he needed a tachyon web to catch the Romulans with Sela. You remember that?
Well, I have jumping episodes the entire time to keep up. Well, we appreciate your diligence, and you make a fine Starfleet officer, Jim.
So, Adam,
you got the name for it too.
This just occurred to me when you brought that up. When he gets angry on the bridge of the Sutherland, he displays anger, right?
Mr. Hobson. Mr. Hobson. Yeah.
Is that after he's had the experimental romantic relationship?
Yes.
That's after he's written his fighting and anger subroutine. Oh, that's so awesome.
That is pretty great, isn't it?
Well, now I want to check.
I have a behavior Oh man. It would make sense.
These are some great episodes we were talking about today. That's for sure. But I think we've done our diligence today. What do you guys think?
I think so.
Indeed.
All right. Well, Data was justified. He saved the lives of at least 2 exocoms. And in return, one of them sacrificed themselves.
I think Jim's right there, actually, his last comment. Jim, he's emulating other captains, though, right? So, I think Data is the master of human behavior and being able to emulate when he needs to. And if he can figure out Hobson needs that kick in the ass, then he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mr. Hobson. Yeah. If you can't do the job, I will find somebody who will.
He's like, the only thing that's going to get to this guy is like some sort of emotional force, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
He's even nice to him, though, when he's angry. He's just like, I will not write it down as a reprimand, just a transfer. Like, but even that's kind of hard. You know what I mean? I'm going to be nice to you and like snap you down at the same time.
Remember, Hobson was basically goading him, saying, you don't even feel anything. You don't even feel.
True.
So he had to react in a passionate way. And
good point.
Yeah, it's
yeah, good episode.
Yeah, very much, Jim.
Now I want to go watch the Sutherland episode.
That's a great episode.
Man. Following
What's
the
that episode?
Up all night.
It's a 2-parter. It's the one with where
Bashir
comes back as Sela, right?
Right. What's that called? Jeepers. Yeah.
It's the Klingon Civil War there.
Yeah.
Not a matter of honor. One of those sorts of things. Anyway.
No, it's not a matter of honor, but something like that.
Yeah.
Well, this was Class L Probes.
Indeed.
You can check out other fine Star
We could go another 3 hours, by the way, guys, if we really
we could.
If we just keep remembering other stuff, it's true.
I try to keep Class L Probe to an hour-ish.
I know. My wife said, is it really going to be an hour tonight? And I go, yeah.
Probably. All right. Now there's only one thing left to say.
I suppose there's only one. Indeed. End transmission.